Hi, Captain Peter Cuttsy again. You've seen many of my online briefings, close to 50 up to date on the 737NG. And my intention was to bring to the aviation world a new way of looking at how we can conduct flight training, especially under the restrictions imposed upon us by COVID-19. Many years ago, 21 years ago to be exact, I brought to the world in South Korea computer-based training, which was an advancement in how we could standardize instructors and what they were teaching. It was the first of its kind, and since then, we have made several improvements in using iPad technology, which we'll talk about today. We work for Vision Inn here in South Korea, and we can do a lot for your training organization in helping you streamline the way you do training. I think this will be the way to the future, and a mixture of this type of presentation and briefings that I'm presenting to you and what you've been looking at on YouTube for the last 3 or 4 or 5 months. A mixture in that we'll actually do live briefings occasionally, but most briefings will be done the way you've seen mine on YouTube. We've got to take advantage of new technology. We've got to take advantage of the fact that COVID has really changed the entire planet, the way all people are doing business. And in many cases, and especially in this aviation industry, what I'm presenting to you today is a system that will work for many years to come. So let's get right into the PowerPoint. This is an introduction about yours truly. I've been around for a long time, and I have over 40,000 hours of experience as a flight instructor and as a pilot. One of the biggest challenges in the aviation industry today is to maintain a level of standardization amongst instructors and line pilots in an airline. The introduction of evidence-based training and competence-based training will change the way we prepare line pilots for the future. What we do basically is get all this information from you, the customer, and we upload it you upload it into a server. It comes to us, and we process it and put it back to the server, and then it's shared with iPads, and that is with the crew members. So basically, that's what we do. Let's go back to the main menu so we can see how we can help modernize your sim training. There are many things on the screen here. We'll pick a few, and one happens to be the real-time Excel files. One of the biggest problems that all instructors have is to get a certain number of maneuvers accomplished within a 4-hour period in the simulator. And it's difficult because you may have repeats and you want to be able to get everything done in a planned, organized manner. Well, these real-time Excel files are synchronized and to the cloud, where we maintain them when there are any changes. They're used in pre-sim for studying and for the client and also for the instructor. And they're used in the sim briefing, and they're used in the sim, and they're used post-sim in the debrief, and used as a review away from the training center. Well, since I've done this PowerPoint presentation, we have improved and accelerated new way to actually learn. And you've seen that in the videos online now on YouTube, labeled Boeing 737 briefings. And I cover many different items and maneuvers that are normally covered in an initial training course, and also a transition course, and also recurrent training. So if you have a look at some of those, you'll understand what I'm saying. So what I am doing currently now is I'm communicating with and briefing pilots around the world, crews, prior to them receiving a similar briefing in real time in a briefing room. We don't want to be in a briefing room. Not today, not with COVID-19. Not only that, just think of the money that can be saved if we continue doing things online. We'll talk more about that later, but let's go back. Let's have a look at, I should say, this Excel file that's real time. This is the top portion of one of the worksheets, of which there are 8. Each worksheet is broken down into 30 minutes of real time. And the top part of this sheet is filled out by us in synchronized meetings online with your management to keep everything up to speed on a daily basis as far as changes are concerned. And then the instructor can actually set up the iOS panel very easily by using the top portion of the first tab of 8 when he or she gets into the simulator. The grayed out boxes are when the time has elapsed, and this yellow box here I'm pointing to is the next real time. So the instructor knows where he or she is actually standing with respect to time management, ahead of schedule or behind schedule. So that's why I've designed it for that purpose. Sim profiles, this is what they look like. The dotted lines meaning climbing or descending, the green meaning normal, and the red meaning an engine out, and the amber or orange would be non-normal. So this legend is throughout all the tabs in the 4-hour period. At the very top of the real-time Excel file, there are windows that you can click on and actually see comments from the chief pilot or from references to the FCTM, QRH, FCOM 1, FCOM 2, SOPs, any other manual that you desire that we make privy and available to your pilots and instructors. Remember, this is not just for the instructor. This is for studying and sim preparation for all the clients. So we're just going through them fairly quickly, but very self-explanatory and with altitudes on one side. But the big thing is the time management element of a real-time file as we go through them all. All right, that's one of the highlights of what we do after you give us your scripts or profiles and access to all your manuals, and then we can actually create and maintain, not just create, maintain. We have a team of 15 people, IT people here in South Korea, and we're far ahead of most training organizations in the world with respect to what I've already done and used for 5 years, but now making it available for the entire world to standardize and help you. We're looking at using an Blackboard. In other words, we use iPads in the briefing room, and we don't need a whiteboard. So even the old whiteboard is not required. Why? Because you'll be doing it the way I'm doing it right here with you in this video. Everything is done in a Zoom environment. Just think, There's no need now to bring your clients that you hire for your airline from another country 50 or 40 days before they actually start their simulator or whatever. If it's 3 weeks before they start simulator, there's no need for it. They can do CBT online, which they're probably doing now. And if they pass, then you can go into the next phase of the IPT. But that doesn't have to be in a building. It can be done right here on Zoom with an FMS CDU, a learning module on the iPad, which would be visible here on the screen. And both clients and myself would be visible to the left side in Zoom, and we could do the briefing. So they're still at home in their home country, and they're taking their course. Then after that, that actually eliminates part of the requirement for an instrument procedure trainer as far as the FMC CDU is concerned. And that is the biggest part of transitioning to modern aircraft, is the use of the flight management system. And that can be done right here. So just think of the money that the airlines would save. As far as the IPT and scan and reference and going through and touching, that can be done here also. It can be done online with the instructors. So then really, you have no requirement to have them into a training center. Therefore, you're saving 2 to 3 weeks of hotel costs and per diem costs and transport costs, because we're doing it online and they're doing it from their home. Now, when you do bring them to your training center world or your city where they're going to do their simulator, even their briefings won't be done in the training center. They don't have to be. They can be done from their hotel room and the instructor from his home or hotel room. So even there, you're saving time and making a more relaxed atmosphere. And the wonderful thing about these briefings, they're all recorded with Zoom, and they're made available securely in the cloud. All right, we use Google Drive with our company, very secure. And when we're finished, we upload it and we make it available for the client's eyes only. Then they can actually view the actual briefing itself. They don't have to take notes. We don't want students writing when we're talking. And we want to take full advantage of every minute in a briefing. Okay, that's just some of the stuff we talk about if you brought us to your organization so we could make a presentation and show you how we're going to be able to standardize your instructors, standardize your pilots, and save you a bundle of money. Why? That's the way it is in the future. We've got to get with technology. Pilots have fought it 21 years ago when I brought it to South Korea, and pilots will still fight it, but they have to face the fact that technology and time management and all the things you're viewing in this presentation are so important for the benefit of the client. Let's go and have a look at a few other things here. The Flyby E6B, we are things that we can talk about. It's an app that we make available on your company iPads, and we can brief you on that. And where you can do cold weather temperatures, corrections that are made easy and accurate. Here's just a sample. And then you could also
return to the main menu
for very warm climates, such as 50 degrees, but used not for corrections, but used only for situational awareness of being high on final approach. In Dubai, for instance, if you're flying a non-precision approach to runway 30 left and it's 50 degrees Celsius, you're going to be high. And you want to know how high you're going to be. So if let's say your final approach altitude fixed with 3,500 feet, for example, in order to fly true altitude, you'd have to fly lower at 3,130 feet. We don't do that in the aviation world. We don't fly lower. So what this app can do, and the type of training and recommendations we can make to your instructors, is to use it for situational awareness only. So it's things like that in the new world of technology that we must get involved with. The actual time management aspects, there's a video debrief recorder in all sims, most sims that we know. And these recorders have not been used, and they really should be, so that the instructor can do a proper debriefing later. And so it's important that the instructors are taught how to use this and how to make it available in their debriefing. The debriefing doesn't have to be person to person in a briefing room. As I mentioned before, debriefings can be done remotely through Zoom. We have all the recordings, so we can do everything through Zoom. So that is most important. Okay, so let's go back to a main menu. Actually, one more thing I want to have show you here is that this little form I've created is a flight situation capture recall reminder, an e-file that I've designed for the iPad for the instructor to actually use every time he takes a snapshot or a capture. I have found over my many years of instructing that I could save up to 25 minutes in a 4-hour sim session by capturing a certain event and then replaying or recalling the capture to repeat in the event that it wasn't performed properly. So that's a great time saver, and that's something that your instructors should really be thinking about and using things such as that. Also, we recommend you use Smartsheet, and we'll set you up with that, where we can actually record the student's name and attach a PDF file electronically that is made available for all the other instructors. So if I'm doing FFS1 and you're doing FFS2 as an instructor tomorrow, we've got to have some kind of fluency, or I should say continuity, it's the correct word, between one instructor and the other instructor, without having to come to a training center an hour and a half early to look at a paper folder that's probably not filled out properly, or lost, or in somebody's bag, or torn, or unreadable, and so on and so on and so on. I don't want to waste time to tell you how the old way of doing it is really the old way. We've got to get with iPad technology and iForms. What we do and have done for one carrier is we've actually I-formatted all their forms without changing the form, but making it in an iPad usable so that instructors can type in using a stylus and a trifoldable keyboard that I probably have pictures of them, but something like that, and also a stylus that you're going to use. This is the type of technology that we advocate, and we would certainly help you set up all of this in your training center. Not only that, with everything being in the cloud, management and the chief pilot and other management personnel and the next instructor all have access to the continuity and the progress of the student immediately. And that's very important, so the instructor can prepare herself or himself for the session they're going to do with a student without having to go to the training center. I'm emphasizing that because we don't want to be in a COVID world face to face with people. And if you watch one of my videos with a mask on and how ineffective it is in actually talking to a crew with a mask on, they need to see your mouth. We have people, wonderful pilots from all over the world, from different cultures, and find it a little difficult sometimes to understand the English language. So we have to make sure that we give them the full advantage. And the way we can do that is not do it in person. To do it the way I'm doing it with you right now. You're viewing this video and you may be in Poland or you may be in England. This is the way of the future, and this is the way we've got to go. And that's something that we can do in setting you up for that. Let's have a look at the time management in a briefing. The time management in briefings, excuse me, let's go to, all right. Currently, I say currently, in most training organizations, only 1 hour is allowed for the pre-sim briefing, whether it be, as a matter of fact, in some places, no time is allowed for the IPT briefing, which is shameful. And only 1 hour put aside for a briefing for fixed base training, and 1 hour put aside for a briefing, in most cases, for the full flight sim. Only 1 hour. So what happens? Currently, the IP prepares the briefing room an hour 30 before the session. If he's really keen or she's really keen, she'll be there, or he'll be there a lot longer. But in any case, greets the clients 1 hour prior to the sim. That's today. Reviews briefly previous sessions, queries. It takes 5 or 10 minutes. And if it's the first time you're with a student, you're getting to know the student. All right, so you're consuming time you're not into today's briefing yet. Begins the briefing 50 minutes before sim session. 10-minute break required for the sim session leaves an effective briefing time of 40 minutes. So it's not a 1 hour brief, it's a 40-minute brief. And how can you cover 13 different maneuvers in 40 minutes? It's virtually impossible. Oh, it's done, but it's not done professionally. We have got to make sure that the instructors that are hired at a training center are the highest quality and the keenest, most passionate people who are willing to put in extra time to prepare their lessons. I suggest that the briefing room, an instructor be in the briefing room 2 hours before. Is that going to cost more money to have the instructor there? All right, then pay the instructor more money. Providing you've got the right instructor, he or she is worth it. I have been instructing for 50 years, a half a century. No changes, no changes. How backwards we have been. Shame on the aviation industry for not listening to people who really know what they're talking about. Set up an iPad with profile and briefing materials. Have paper copies of the load sheet and company flight plan. That's the only paper that should be anywhere in any training. And soon the load sheet will be electronic, and probably is in some cases, and so is the computer flight plan. You greet the clients an hour 30 before the session, review any queries they may have or had from their last sim. That takes 5 to 10 minutes. Begin the sim briefing an hour 20 prior to the sim session, 10-minute break prior to the sim session, effective briefing time an hour 10 versus 40 minutes. Wow, that's the difference between a well-flown session and one that is mediocre. Now, that's what was happening, or now, and what I'm suggesting, but what I'm suggesting even further is that just think of the time we're going to save if we're doing it remotely. Not to mention the fact that students do not take notes. Why? Because this entire session is being recorded the way I'm recording this now. So we've got to get into the future. I've been saying it for many of the last 50 years. This is a whiteboard brief with all the all the maneuvers required for that day's session. The instructor doesn't do any writing, just line selects his name or her name, the date, the sim number, and actually types in the student's name, and it's all recorded electronically. It's a whole new world. And I call it a whiteboard brief because all of these are articles and linked to the actual manuals and the prior PowerPoints that have been approved by your company, and all the procedures directly from FCOM 1, FCOM 2, QRH, and FCTM, and any other files that the company would like us to prepare for you to have at their fingertips. That's why it's called Whiteboard. So we have several new innovations available for the you to use and to view that we can discuss. All the references here are highlighted to take you to the particular manual for those maneuvers on that day. So we have got a lot of information here on screen. I've just touched very lightly on some of the items. Please go to YouTube and type in my name, Peter Cutsey. It's at the top of the screen. And you can have a look at 40, 50 different briefings. And the reason I did them was to introduce myself to the training world so that interested airlines or training organizations could contact us at VisionIN, and we could get working on something now. And I say now because you're not up to full speed yet in the recovery from COVID. People aren't flying, and your training centers are not as active as they were 4 years ago, when you could hardly get an instructor to come in and fill in to do a session, and you're doing extra sessions and doubles and triples, and with tired instructors giving ineffective briefings. You don't have that anymore. COVID-19 has changed the way we do things, but now is the time. Now is the time to talk to people who have ideas that work. Now is the time so that we and companies like mine that I work for can actually come and help you get set up for when you do start getting busy again, so that you can do it with professional instructors delivering professional information the way the airline wants it done. All right. If you're interested in all of this stuff, it's exciting. I'm passionate about aviation. You can tell that. You want your instructors to be as passionate. You want your instructors to be super instructors. You want professionalism. We can help you do that. Please contact me. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in my next video.